When you are at the school website, go to the tab that says Academics, hover over it, and come down and hit Instructional Framework and Literacy. So you're on the TC website, you go to the Academics tab, and then you hit Instructional Framework Literacy. That's what this page is, and there's this little Weebly word right here, Weebly. And then up pops the county-wide instructional framework.
Academics and PLC?
No. Instructional framework literacy. Okay. And then you hit the word Weebly. All right. When you get there, you're going to hit school trainings, and you're going to come over here, and you are going to hit TC. And you will then be in the correct spot. All you got to do is pull it down. And get to this Padlet that is Blue Skies. And all you have to do is come down to the bottom where you see cloud and nothing else and double click. Double click. Up pops a box and you write on it and answer this question just as an opener. And then you just hit enter and it will pop up. So you get down to the bottom of the blue sky and you double click on a cloud. And up will pop a box. And it's a way for you to answer this opening question.
Yeah.
TC.
Okay.
Where do we get
That black one at the top.
He's still on. He won't even get up.
Okay, so is that the blue sky place? If you just click outside of one of those boxes like on the clouds.
Really? No, your friend.
You know, use the word application. That's what.
Adam told me earlier how much better it was.
Right, put on your name. You got it.
Question and topic. So where do I just go? Right here?
Get on that and then go down.
It's a school trainings.
Yeah, I've already gone with that one.
Okay, TC. Alright, I guess you're going down to. That's way down under the, go past the.
Y'all, this is Padlet. You can use it very quickly in your classes. Very, very quickly.
Hey, Laura, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, I remember all that.
Good God.
Instructional framework. Excuse me.
This is our round gate. And you sat over there. I know she's
So guys, here's what I would love for y'all to do, even if you've not finished, because I wanted to start at 1:45. That's why I got started early, so I can let y'all out at 2:45. Can you take a look at what your colleagues have written and see if the type of writing that's already going on falls into any kind of patterns? What type of writing are we seeing up there? I'll let you look at it and finish with what you write. Now you press the enter after you write and it'll pop up. Guys, so my question was, what type of writing are you noticing that a lot of us are using? Could you categorize it somehow? Give me an example of what you see this explanatory.
Like maybe the quick write warm-ups. as part of the lesson. It could be explained what you know about.
Okay, so it has to do with their learning. They're explaining their learning, yeah. Anybody else think there's a different way to characterize it, or you want to add on what Lauren said? Well, let me ask it this way. Are these formal writing assignments, informal, both? What are you seeing a lot of?
Oh. It was sticking my head.
Hey, guys. Yeah.
Mine are not formal. They're kind of a cross between nonfiction and creative, though, because they do the goal was to actually have them have a class blog, and hopefully by next year I'll accomplish that. It's me, not them, that's caused this to be a problem. But they write blog entries after they do a lab where they take pictures, and they're supposed to be writing to people in social media to encourage them to want to make the food that they make.
Okay, cool. So you said creative, a little more informal. A lot of these would fit that category, and that's very valuable type writing. Also valuable is the formal type writing that I think most of us associate with English teachers, but we're going to talk about how there's formal writing in your other classes as well. But we're going to focus today on both types of writing because both fit into the instructional framework. There's a name for that type of writing. If you want to follow along, guys, you don't have to, but the slides are accessible right here. You see where I'm going? Woo! Right under the title, you can go to presentation slides. I'm going to go right here. That Padlet, by the way, if y'all want to use Padlet in your classroom to get your kids to write a quick answer, very easy to use, and you can even, I didn't have y'all do this, but I planned on y'all doing it. You can even have them up there with their QR code reader on their phone and just shoot the code, and that'll bring up the Padlet as well. Or you could put it on your website. Or you just tell them the address. Lots of different ways to get to it. But anyway, the two types of writing that I am talking about are called learning to write and writing to learn. Those are actually the catchphrases that are out there right now. And when we teach kids, when we teach them how to learn to write, we're talking about those more formal type writings. In all sense areas, not just English. And that type of writing demonstrates what they have already learned. So it's kind of summative. But then there's writing to learn activities, where as they write, they're showing their learning. They're actually collecting learning as they go. That facilitates learning. So those are those quick writes and things like that that a lot of you jotted down on the Padlet. And again, both of those are quite important. I want to show you guys a video. This happens to be an English teacher. It's not really an English lesson though she's doing. She's doing a writing to learn lesson. Just listen to what she says writing to learn is, and let me see how that gels with your definition of writing to learn. It's informal kinds. I need to plug in, huh?
It's our football field.
Thank you.
Right now, the target audience of this kind of music is. What age group do you think listens to this? When it's popular, do you think it's for adults? Do you think it's for teenagers?
Writing to learn it's essentially low stakes writing. So what you do is your students have paper and you ask a question, and it's usually pretty short, and they write, they respond to it.
I want you to write about what we saw. What stuck with you? What do you think is important? What do you not care for?
It's just a way for them to process the information that you're giving them, and it's a very low stakes environment. I don't take a grade on writing to learn. The kids know that. And they know that if they turn it in, the only other person that's going to see it is me. It gets them accustomed to putting their thoughts on paper in a way that isn't scary. They don't have to worry about what the rest of the class is. They don't have to worry about what kind of grade they're going to get.
I'll give you about 45 seconds. Why do you think the blues is called the blues? How did it get its name? What do you think? If you don't know, that's okay. Take a guess.
In my classroom, sometimes we call them writing to think. And we've talked about the connotation that's there with learn and with think. So when we write to learn, it's because you're going to be writing something that I'm teaching you. When we write to think, that's when you're organizing your own thoughts. What the students really get out of these kinds of activities is they're able to process the information in a way that's going to make them retain it.
So tell me what stuck with you, and I want to know what kind of music sounds the most like what you're listening to today.
By doing something like writing to learn, where they're addressing these things in a low-stakes environment, that gives them the opportunity to sort of learn for themselves or think it out for themselves.
So how did that add to your definition or differ from your definition of those informal writing to learn activities? Any thoughts?
It's the low stakes environment.
Low stakes was one of the characteristics, absolutely. Not everything has to be graded.
And that's what I was getting at. Like, my writing is typically, you know, we do a math homework problem, and then we'll write out what the implications of that are, what the significance of the answer is, what it actually means, making sense of that.
And you wouldn't be able to see if they were making sense if you didn't see them write.
Right.
Or if you didn't hear them talk. Remember that speaking is part of the instructional framework too. Today we're concentrating on writing. Guys, old school, we would get up and we would lecture and we would hope our kids would get it. But now we need proof, we need evidence that they are getting it. And so that's where speaking and writing comes in. They're thinking is on paper. In fact, they can't write if they're not thinking. So writing actually forces them to think. Just like speaking forces them to think, although it may not look that way all the time. Other thoughts you had from watching the video? She said she doesn't ever show their writing to learn to anyone else. You can. I mean, that's just a decision she has. Sometimes kids write informally and trade with each other. And in fact, we're going to have an exercise in this hour that we're going to do that. But that, you know, that was her take on it. I think the biggest thing is the low stakes. You don't have to grade everything you have kids write. It just depends on your purpose. And also, did you look and see what they were writing down? Did you notice if it was complete sentences? It was not complete sentences. A lot of what they were writing down was not complete sentences, and that was an English class. So unless your goal, your target, has to do with formality and grammar, then that's not important. If it is just a low stakes, let me capture your thinking, that may not be what you're looking for, and it doesn't matter. So just consider your purpose. We're going to go back to the slides. What I would like for y'all to do right now is called Give One, Get One. When you came in, you picked up a salmon-colored sheet of paper. It looks like out of a bingo board. You want to take that out? This is called Give One, Get One. What you're going to do, need something to write with, is you're going to walk around and you are going to give one of these strategies to people if they don't know what it is, and you are going to get a strategy or two or three from people if you don't know what it is. All those are writing to learn strategies. I know you've heard of some, you've done some. There's a free choice blank on there for if there's a writing to learn strategy you'd like to share. So, pop up, you walk around, and you share strategies. What you give one, you get one. You give one, you get one. Got it? All right, let's go.
Miss Mine. You know any of these? Yeah. I did
So they have to think it's not just saying find too many people. It's part of my integration. Part of like a series of questions. So that's why
I just learned about this yesterday. And I want to tell you more about one of the icons that's on the weekly is the program. They're just tiny essays right on an index card. And the essays are of various type. They may be explanatory, informative, compare, contrast. It could be a synthesis essay where you've given them a local source or whatever you're put all together to write about it. But their micro questions are little ones, like you or their team.
So the students read an essay on an index card?
Meaning they can only talk about what's really important. You know what I'm saying? It's not just take it on. But they try to have it how to get that you did not get an answer to that you're interested in? Any on there that you want to know more about?
Is paragraph shrinking the same thing as yes, thank you. It takes rendering.
No. Paragraph, but it's got the same point to get to the crux. No, all paragraph shrinking is, I sent y'all a picture of it. I think I called it Incredible Shrinking Notes. I sent you a picture on email one time. Do you remember seeing like a big sticky note, then a medium-sized sticky note, then a little tiny sticky note? So the kids are kind of summarizing or finding an idea, and they have to write it in fewer and fewer words.
So it's like the opposite of text rendering. Where we do the word, this phrase, and this.
Well, I think what's similar is you're getting more and more narrow. But this is kids actually taking notes in shorter and shorter and shorter until they get to the crust. And the idea is they don't mind writing because it's a small newspaper. Same thing with micro things. Now on the Legally, I've got two links that you might notice that say learning to write strategies, other strategies. One's from DPI, and it's got PE stuff on there, it's got CTE stuff, It's got all kinds of content areas. And the other one is a site I found online. But micro themes get explained better there and in depth, and so do some of these other strategies. Plus there's more that didn't get on. So if you're looking for more writing to learn strategies, those shorter, more informal, I've got a couple of links. Any more questions about what you see on there? All right, let me just give you a little bit of theory. And this theory is very new to me, and so I wanted to share it with you guys because I think it's going to help us move along. Current literacy research is saying there are 3 types of literacy, and we need all of them. Our kids need all of them. So think of it like a triangle, and one builds on the other until you get to the pinnacle. The basic type of literacy is the kind of literacy our kids learn in elementary school. They learn how to read and write, just the basics. That's basic literacy. That's not the realm we dwell in mostly here. For the most part, what we dwell in when we plan lessons and try to incorporate literacy is here. Another name for intermediate literacy is content literacy. You may have heard that expression before. And what that means is transferable literacy skills we teach our kids, like summarizing, connecting. That's where I think the lit team's been living for a few years, and I think that's where most of us have been living when we're trying to incorporate literacy. We're trying to find strategies like the kind we just discussed on that bingo board. We're trying to find strategies that can be used across content areas with a little bit of tweaking. And that's important, and that's great if we're including those, because that's part of the necessary triangle as well. But the pinnacle for a kid to truly be literate in your subject area, that means he's got skills that are specific to your discipline, that are not the same, which means in Rob's social studies class, the type of writing that they're doing is different than what's going on in Christina's English class, which is different than what's going on in ROTC. Y'all see what I'm saying? It's a different type of writing, just like it's a different kind of reading. So it's one thing for us to share cool strategies that can be used to enhance literacy skills, but it's quite another, it's what we need to shoot for, to really get our kids embedded in those skills that are very specific to our disciplines. And I don't think most of us are there yet. That's kind of a new way to think about literacy. So what that's saying is, you can no longer say, oh, literacy is just cute little extra fluff. I don't have time for that. If you want to stay here, I can see you may be thinking that, even though it's not true. But if you want your kids to truly be literate in your discipline, then no, it's not just fluff. Let me let you look at this quote, which pretty much says what we were just talking about, and then get your feedback on it. So I'd love to hear if you've got any thoughts on that quote, or if you kind of reword it. Any reactions? Well, let's make sure we know what it's saying. Can anybody reword it?
I would say it's what you are rather than what you do.
Yeah, it is saying it's not just tools you bring in. It's basically wrapped up in what you do every day. It's just part. You don't even have to think about it. Anybody else? Anybody disagreeing with what you're saying? Oh, it's fourth period, isn't it? John, you do a little dance out here? I'll pick y'all up.
No, just lay down on the floor and protest.
Then you'll have to call me, sorry. Yeah, basically what Carol Beck just said. If we're really embedding literacy into our instruction, it shouldn't be considered something extra. It's just how we do what we teach. The content is the subject matter that we teach. Literacy is the means by which we teach that content. And they should blend very, very nicely. So that you, in your subject area, are teaching your kids how to write like a fill in the blank. What fits you? Take a look at this list. Your students are going to be literate in your subject area. Which one of these should they be writing like? And is there something missing? Those are completely different types of writing. There is not one way to write. And we can't let our kids leave here only knowing how to write in English class. That is a disservice, particularly when they get into college, particularly when they get into those higher level college classes. Oh, I gave you guys some handouts. There's a white packet. It's got like 4 pages. It says read and write like a historian, read and write like a literary critic, read and write like a scientist, like a mathematician. One of those might be helpful to y'all. If your subject matter's not on there, there's plenty online. This format, though, only had those 4. I found articles online on reading and writing like an athlete. Alright, but we are going to move on. Let's talk about the Common Core standards for a minute. What have you guys heard in the news in Scuttlebutt recently about the Common Core standards? We're hearing North Carolina's trying to get rid of them. Have you heard that? So, and some of you may already be aware of this. If you're not, let me just share with you where we are on that. A review committee was formed a year ago. Its purpose was to actually read the standards and assess whether or not North Carolina needed to throw them out, substitute a few, rewrite a little bit, or keep them. And what they did is some of the people on that committee actually started looking at the standards and reading them. They're getting advice from people. The person in charge hates the Common Core. But I will tell you, obviously I'm not a legislator, what other states have done. They have kept the Common Core standards because they are awesome. They have changed the name to like Ohio State Pride Standards, you know, that kind of thing. They've changed a few words, maybe changed the grade level at which something is taught, but for the most part they've kept it. Most people are saying that's where we're going. We'll see. I mean, obviously they can do anything they want. But right now the standards are applicable to all of us. Everybody sitting in this room are supposed to be using Common Core state standards, even though the public thinks they're just for math and English. So I wanted to look at what they're saying about writing, what the standards are saying about writing in all of our classes. You'll notice that this says writing standards for literacy in history, social studies, science, and technical subjects, 612. Technical subjects pretty much incorporate everybody else. Most of us are not aware that there are Common Core standards that apply to us. Because when we all had new standards a few years ago, we sat and learned about them in our content area. And there was no time to share with you guys probably the literacy standards. So we're just going to look at them for a second today, but at least you'll know how to find them. Can you go on the Weebly and find the Common Core button? See this orange Common Core State Standards? It may take a minute for you to go back on the Weebly. You may have to hit some back buttons. But can you hit this button and find the Common Core Standards? Now, if you can't get back to the Weebly, just go to corestandards.org. But let's all get on there. No, don't do that. That's an I Hate Common Core website. So you're going to get to Common Core State Standards. Your screen may look slightly different than mine. Eventually, you want to get to the English Language Arts Standards, which sounds counterproductive. I promise they're not just English. But that's where you want to head to. You may have to hit read the standards first. But where you want to get to is the English Language Arts Standards.
Read the standards and then English. Okay.
Yes, and then English Language Arts.
Got it. Got it. I'm sorry.
So now y'all know each other because this is kind of hard to navigate. So ultimately, you want to end up on this page. You want to see something on the right that says literacy in history, social studies, science, and technical subjects, which again is pretty much everybody else. So that's where you want to be. Who needs help getting there? So you're going to read the standards rather than English. Okay, so here's where you're going next. Do y'all see under literacy? Under literacy where it says writing, hit writing, and up will pop some grade levels. So just pick the grade level you're most interested in reading the writing standards for. Remember that they are for everybody in this room. So just pick a set and just read through that page of writing standards. Like I'll hit 9 and 10 right now. and up should pop the 910 writing standards. So read through the standards and see if you see one that pops out at you as particularly challenging for our students. So just have a minute to look over them. Anybody else need help? Anybody else need help navigating those standards? Trying to get to a grade level? Okay, you okay? So, just try and talk with somebody near you. Which of those, and there may be more than one, did you find particularly interesting or challenging? And how is that going to affect our teaching? Go ahead and chat with somebody near you. Talk about a standard that you're looking at. And I've got the questions up on Well, it would prove to you then if they knew it or not. And that shows their understanding too. So for you, that makes more sense. The writing is going to happen less often. But it doesn't happen once in a while. The PE teacher would say the same thing. Yeah? Because the PE teacher would say if they can demonstrate how to do this book, they know it. But writing about it is what a literal person can do. So nobody's saying they need to be writing about their lives every single solitary day. Right. But that is an appropriate way to show your knowledge. You know? And like you said, the language. Can your kids use the word legato properly in writing as well as verbally? Well, they got to show they know what it means. And one way to show it is by doing it when you suggest they do it with your hand motions, but another way is there's no argument. This is very, very different. And you guys are being tested. Whereas other people are. Alright, so I heard some good conversation going on. Is there anything that you guys want to share with the whole group? Is this the first time that some of you knew about these standards and saw them? Those are your standards. What about people who are not English teachers? Is this the first time some of you have seen the... I do not think you're the only one. I'm hearing some yeses.
I'm not going to lie.
Well, you know what? They're hidden at the back of the English standards. Why would you have? So now you know that they're there, and we are responsible for them in addition to our content standards. I want to share with you one that all of you would have, no matter whether you're kindergarten through 12th grade. You probably know this. I'll show it to you here in a minute. Let me get through this next slide. let's look at this slide first. I don't know if you guys have heard of the NAEP testing, have you? Some of you are saying yes. National Assessment for Educational Progress. It is through the data that was collected in the NAEP tests, pretty much started the Common Core standards, showed us the need for us to get to the point other countries were and how far behind we were. Here's what NAEP is suggesting we do with writing. Can you guys explain to each other what it's saying? What's different about writing, according to their suggestions, in 12th grade than in elementary school? What is it that they're saying we should be doing with our kids in high school? More what and less what? Versus, yeah. And you know what this means by convey experience, the personal connections and the storytelling and all that. It's not that they're not valued anymore, but they're valued less than when the kids were younger. And what's valued more is basically argumentative writing. Finding and writing and establishing claims, analyzing other people's claims, recognizing counterclaims, coming up with evidence to support claims. Claims are in math. Claims are in science. It's basically constructive response type writing that we're talking about here. And that can be more formalized in an essay, or it can be shorter. But this is that standard that every single one of you probably saw, because it's on all of them for writing. It says, write arguments focused on discipline-specific content. That is not the same as the English teachers. His or hers looks different for that particular standard. Discipline-specific means that writing arguments needs to be happening in your science class. Writing arguments needs to be happening in your math class, needs to be happening in ROTC, so forth and so on. And so you got to figure out, what does an argument look like? Is it short? Can it be done in 5 minutes sometimes? Is it longer? What's valuable? And I think that's what PLCs can sit down and figure out. But this, will you guys tell me, why is this what's being focused on? Why argumentative writing for high school kids? What do you think? About why the focus would be on there?
Well, my AP kids do a lot of argumentative writing, and they struggle with proving it, not just saying it.
Oh, yeah, that's the easy part.
Yeah, they like to do
yeah.
these general statements of truth, but they've got to have the evidence here to support it.
Why do your AP kids need to know how to do that?
Well, it's the college style of writing. It's sort of our history style.
These standards come from college and career-ready standards. That's where the Common Core comes from. So not only in college, as you say, but also in life, the types of reading and writing that most adults do is the argumentative type. Now, argument doesn't mean you're having a fight. It means there's a position and then there's evidence to back it up. And that's true with the bulk of adult real-world reading and writing that they're going to encounter. To be successful in college and careers, that's what our kids need to be doing. And it doesn't mean the other type of writing isn't valued. It's part of the curriculum. But that's where the biggest percentage is supposed to be. So how can we address that in all subject areas? It's actually very easy. As I said a second ago, it's constructive response in science and social studies. This picture comes from a science class, got it right off of Pinterest. This one comes from an English class, a more formal essay. But you basically teach your kids the CER method. Y'all have got it on a purple sheet of paper. Here's some more. Anybody need these? Anybody need these papers? Anybody else need one? So guys, basically all this is claim, evidence, reasoning. We teach our students that either when they read they can recognize claims, or when they write, like we're talking about today, they establish claims, they back it up with evidence and reasoning. CER is just an easy way for them to remember it. You may have a different acronym. This is the one that's floating around out there. There are even some sentence starters down here that you could give kids. Your sentence starters in your subject area may look different, but it's a way you can post those sentence starters on a poster on the wall and get them to write short arguments. Nothing formal that you have to grade necessarily at first. It could be an exit slip. Does it make sense? Are you doing this already and maybe it's called something else? Anybody? I'm going to show you guys a video. It's a 5th grade class. If our kids can do what the kids on this video are doing, by the time they get to us, we're going to see a big difference. So I wanted to show you how Common Core goes all the way back to kindergarten, and what they're being asked to do in writing with claims and evidence and reasoning goes all the way back to the early grades. So let's look at this 5th grade class and see if you can make any connections.
When we make claims, what do we need to follow those claims with?
With evidence from the picture or text and reasoning.
CER, claim, evidence, reasoning. This is making a claim, finding the evidence, giving the reasoning. If they have that understanding, then they're able to construct very well substantiated arguments.
Which one of these do you think is most scientific? So your claim is your answer to this question.
I think the most scientific painting is the first row, 3rd column, because you could easily tell what the type of animal is.
In a CER format of discussion, students make a claim, their opinion or observation, then they point out the exact details, something that's directly in the text, in the picture, or in the book, that are evidence for their claim.
I also think that image is the most scientific. That's the one that has like the most insects or other like more scientific properties.
Typically, they were able to make a claim, give some evidence, but the reasoning is where a lot of them struggle. The reasoning is how logically does this evidence actually support my claim? It's taken a lot of work to push them to say, okay, how do these details specifically support your claim? They're really working on that reasoning component.
So remember, your evidence has to come directly from the artwork. But wait a minute, because you need to think about your reasoning. That's going to take a minute to ponder. Why does this evidence support your claim? Why should somebody agree with you?
It does take a lot of modeling and a lot of conversation, hearing other students. They are becoming much more cognizant, but it's taken a lot of practice.
I think it is scientific because maybe it was a piece of paper from a journal and it was ripped out. I can say that because it has writing on it.
Making a claim, giving evidence, and then providing reasoning. Getting all those three together, the trifecta of argument, has really been a challenge for them, but they are becoming much more confident at taking their positions and making their case for their opinions.
Any thoughts on what you just saw that 5th grade class do? Anything you were impressed with?
The school uniforms.
So ours would never be able to do that. I thought they were pretty cool. You could tell they had done this before. The language they were using it's pretty clear that she's done this before. And that's where those sentence frames would come in. Anybody else have some thoughts about what they saw, that you're impressed with, or that links you could make to our high school kids doing this? So that was a speaking activity, obviously. Can y'all see how that could be very much a writing activity, though? Okay. And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to do a writing activity, which we're kind of going to talk to each other, but we're going to do it through writing. You need your colored sheet of paper. Do you have your colored sheet of paper? And take your color. We're going to do a CER activity. Claims, evidence, reasoning. You need one? Fold it like it's going to be a Frayer model. So fold it into 4 and fold that corner down. And you guys who know how to do this, help everybody. So remember the corner that you fold down is the photo corner, not the open corner. You don't want to fold down an open corner. You fold down the back corner. Renee, help everybody. not doing the old prayer Bible. We're just using that
That's
format.
fine.
So unfold it.
Just a second.
We're calling this a dialectic prayer. Megan's done this before, and I've actually shown it to you guys before. So you may or may not remember it. What you have your kids put in the middle is up to you. But here's what we're going to do today. We're going to put an incendiary claim. A claim that could be argued. So in your class, when you're thinking about doing this for your class, think about what you're teaching right now. And think about something that you could write down that kids could take a position on and use evidence and reasoning for that they find from a text. And that text could be a picture or what have you. Like on the video, remember? I mean, that's a cool thing to do, by the way, is use a picture or an image to get them to write. But anyway, but here's what we're going to do today. We're going to use the subject matter we're on, writing. Write this in your diamond. Write these words down in the diamond. Every student should write every day in every class. I got that from the instructional framework, and it is incendiary. It is arguable. Every student should write every day in every class. So as a teacher, you'd give your kids a similar claim, but in your content area. Or absolutely, the kids can do this. It could be a question. Yeah, there are so many different ways to do this. Did you have your kids create different questions? Yeah, there's lots of different ways to do this. So write your name in one of the quadrants, but not smack in the middle. Kind of in the corner of one of the quadrants. Put your name. And I just want you to take about 30 seconds, okay, because we're going to look at this quick. Go through this. Respond to that claim with evidence and reasoning. So you can agree or refute that claim and give evidence and reasoning. So I'm just basically saying jot a response in the quadrant that has your name. But you just can't say, I agree, I disagree. You've got to have evidence and reasoning. So take about 30 seconds to get something awesome written down. And I'm not taking it up, so you say what you want to say. You're writing to learn. Draw an arrow from the question to your quadrant. It indicate, well, the claim, sorry. So you are indicating what you're responding to. That'll make more sense in a minute. When you have finished writing a quick response, and you would give your kids more time now, switch to somebody. Put your name in the quadrant that they were given. I thought that was quadrant one.
No.
It doesn't matter. So you're going to switch with somebody, and you're going to write your name on one of their quadrants. Now, you can respond to the claim for them and say the same thing you said, or you can respond to them. Draw an arrow and respond. Either way. And it gets even better when more kids answer. So you're going to respond to their comment or to the original claim. You cannot just say I agree or disagree. You need evidence and reasoning. Here you go, Coach. And if your kid said I agree or I disagree, you would yell at them.
You can respond. You can respond.
This is my favorite.
I like it. We put our name?
Yeah. Put your name in the stew quadrant, write a response to either their response or the original claim, draw an arrow, switch again. And I can switch you with somebody that's finished if you need me to.
Do we give it to someone else, is it?
We'll go back to the
I like it. Switch as many times as you want. But now, can you see that you're talking to more people? Draw an arrow to whoever you want to talk to. And in the class, you're wanting them to not be talking. You want the total silence, and I'll tell you why. The kids who feel kind of shy about speaking up do really well on this kind of thing. When nobody's talking, and they're all talking through their writing instead. Do you want me to switch this one? Who's done? Who's ready to switch? Anybody? Lauren.
I like it being Amber.
I think she just
And then you can argue.
Yeah.
People go so many different ways. Well, there are people sitting in here who disagree with that.
So remember that people think that's your opinion a lot of the time. Remember that was the flaw in our
true. That was kind of a takeoff on it.
Yeah.
Try to see if you can get 3 of your 4 blanks filled out. Anybody ready to switch? Just keep switching. Try to get 3 of your blanks filled out, and then just get yours back.
Christine, are you for
That was yours.
Yeah. I don't know. Here, you can find it out. Oh, right.
When you've had 3 quadrants filled, take yours back. Try to find yours back. When you've got 3. So I guess we should get, I guess the first person we can circle their name or something.
Oh, I don't know who's mine. I think.
Don't forget your arrows.
to get back here. Someone could pull mine up and threw it away.
Okay. Okay, so at this point, just try to get yours back. Don't worry about any quadrants. Just try to get yours back at this point.
Provide evidence, explain why. Chris,
No, this is yours.
So the valuable lesson here is we have to get them to code, circle their name, or something like that. But anyway, flip yours onto the back where you've got a clean sheet, please. And simply write, my new thinking, ...
Anybody missing one? You got X in here.
Anybody missing yours?
I don't know, that might be it. Looks like it.
Guys, flip yours over on the back and write my new thinking.
Does it matter where?
No, and here's the deal, guys. When you do this in your own classroom, your students are going to read what their classmates said. And they're going to think about whether that changed or added to their own thinking. And so on the back, they'll say, well, I now think this, whereas I used to think this, and here's why. Or I still believe so-and-so. Their argument is invalid because they can't just say, I still think what I think. You know, that's lazy. So this whole CER approach, the evidence and the reasoning, you know, we gotta model it for them, like Jen on the video said. So you don't have to take the time to do your new thinking right now, but that's how you would do it in your classroom now. Is anybody thinking of a statement or claim or question or quote you could use in your own class for an upcoming lesson? Anybody? So I saw a science teacher in one of our previous classes say global warming is due to human behavior. That was one of them. I saw a math teacher say so-and-so is the best way to solve such and such a type of problem. It's got to be something that's worth discussing and that there are multiple viewpoints on. Can you guys go to the Weebly again and find the last Padlet? Instead of the sky, it is bamboo. So you just pull down to the bottom of the page until you see the bamboo, and you do exactly what you did before, y'all. You can hit this pen, or else you can double click in the bamboo, and up will pop a new box. And the question is, what writing strategy, and I'm talking about the ones we've talked about today, or you've seen in the video, or you learned from each other, could you incorporate into an immediate lesson? How will you adapt it? So, see, this one's good. So not just, oh, I liked the strategy, but how might you use it? If you could answer that question, that would be awesome. Do you need help getting back to the Weebly? You may need to go back arrow. Back arrow.
20 times.
Yeah. Yeah. You can always go back to the school website.
Probably.
All the way down.
Bamboo. That's where I got distracted.
Look away for a second.
Let me know if you need help getting back to that. Now remember, every time you press enter, it goes up there. So you may need to go back and erase. You can go back and edit. If it's posted up there before you went into it, it just means you pressed enter. And after you have we are done. I want to thank you for how cheerful and participatory you guys were, and invite you to and invite you to contact me if you'd like to try any strategy.
Oh, that's you. I'm seeing it happen on my screen.
Go literacy. Woo!